Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. Another stream. Just gonna give everybody a couple minutes to come and join in. How are you guys? How are you guys doing, huh? Let me just get this over there real quick. All right, guys. It's been a while since we actually looked at some stocks, huh? Just been talking about the gold price and the silver prices over the last couple months. But it feels like a while that I actually looked at some stocks and actually looked at what was going on within my portfolio. So today I want to take this stream and look less at the prices of gold and silver and all of these other investments. And I want to dive into what has happened with the press releases of stocks that are in my portfolio and stocks that are on my watch list. Because been quite busy last couple months. Haven't really kept up with the news all that much, but I do know that some interesting news has come out, and I just want to look through that, see if it changes the case for the better or for the worse, and then we'll just go from there. So that's what we're going to do in this stream. If you guys are interested, just hang around. Also wanted to say that today I did an interview with Correlation Economics. He's a man, he collects a lot of very interesting data on the gold and silver front. And he has been kind enough to, to share his works with us through his interviews that he does with me. This is his website, ketchumplus.blogspot.com. And we talked about all of these charts that he has on this website. And he has a whole bunch of indicators right here. And we went through them. All of these. We talked about them. And yeah, the interview is online right now for channel members. So if you guys want to... or if you guys are a channel member, then you can see it right now. And otherwise, it's going to come online on Wednesday. So that's in a couple days from now. So yeah, just going to give people a couple minutes just to join in. Already posted a couple posts that I'm live. So we're going to start looking at the news in about 10 minutes from now. But yeah, how have you guys been? Anything interesting that has happened over the past couple weeks that I should know? Let me just look at some companies that I wanted to look at. And just set some things up right now. We went over all of these indicators in my stream on Monday. Or when was my last stream? Let me see. When was that? That was... Welcome back. Welcome. Yeah, that was about 5 days ago. So that was on about Monday. And you can see that really things have just been moving up, huh? Over the past couple days here, which is pretty good. So I think that today is a good day to really look at the news and to see where all of these stories are at right now. I think we're just going to start with my own portfolio, right? With the stocks that I personally invest my money in. With that being said, I do want to give a disclaimer, right? I am, in general, just an idiot. So please don't take this as financial advice. I don't know anything more about these stocks than you could find out on your own. So please do your own due diligence. Understand that investing in this market carries tremendous amounts of risk. including the risk of losing all the money that you put in. Please understand that before you step into this market. It's extremely important because however good gold is looking and however good silver is looking, everything can just go to shit for you in your personal portfolio if you don't understand the risks that you're dealing with in this market. So please do your own due diligence, understand the risks, don't take this as investing advice, and don't listen to me for anything, honestly. That being said, this is a stock that I'm invested in, Discovery Silver, or Discovery Mining as it's called today. They used to be called Discovery Silver, but they have bought the Porcupine Mine from, I believe that it was Barrick, and they bought that right about there. Since then, the stock has been up 1,600%. This is my biggest gain in my portfolio by far. And recently they came out with some news. So there's two big reasons why I own Discovery. They are in possession of a undeveloped silver deposit, which holds roughly about 1 billion ounces of silver equivalent, which is of course extremely big, and they are slowly but surely moving towards that asset. And afterwards, after I've already invested in it, right, I've been in this stock since about that bottom there. Afterwards, they bought the Porcupine operations. And the Porcupine mine is a past producing but still producing mine. It's a complex, right? It has multiple grounds, and they are trying to get it back into full production to generate the cash flow to develop their other project that they've had. So there's a little bit the backdrop as to why I own this stock. It's been extremely well. It's been performing extremely well for me. I never thought that it would shoot up like this in such a short period of time, but it did. I'm very grateful for that. But they've reported positive drill results at their growth projects in the Dome and the TVZ. So both of these zones are within the Porcupine mining complex. So this is about the new developments that they have in their new operating mine. And they have also announced the extension of their revolving credit facility. All right. Let me just see what is going on in their new zones. Discovery reports a positive drill result at the key growth projects and their resource estimates. All right. So they've got a bunch of hits, right? In their Dome zone, in their TVZ zone, and in Owl Creek. Let me see. Right, so this is an image from their current Dome zone, right? So Discovery Mining now used to be Discovery Silver. They have bought the Porcupine mining complex, and the Porcupine mining complex has been mined in the past pretty extensively. But the project was sold in its entirety to Discovery. And as you can see here in this footprint is a mining complex, an open pit that has been mined out. So what Discovery Mining is figuring out right now is how big is this deposit at the moment, right? And so they are drilling right now outside of their current deposit. And they are trying to find out whether there is more gold, more silver there. This is a primarily gold project, so they are focusing on gold here. And we can see that there is definitely some more hits. Hey, good morning, Acosti. Good to see you again, man. And we can see that there's definitely some mineralization, right? 270 grams per ton over 1 meter right there. And they've got more hits right there. So that is pretty intriguing for that zone. 22 drill holes in the TVZ project. Let me see if they have an image right there. Right. So the Porcupine Mining Complex, it has an open pit, which is the dome zone. It also has an underground zone, which is the Holy Pond. And if you've seen my video that I made about Discovery, you can see what this is all about. But this is quite a deep underground mine, and they are currently exploring whether there is more gold to be found there. And it seems like they are hitting pretty good results, which means that it might be a lot bigger than they first thought. And that is always pretty good. And so we have a couple zones right here, right? The 1200, the 1400, and the 1600, and then the 900. So we are talking this image right here. We're talking about this area right there, between the 900, the 1200, and the 1400, which is quite deep. But as you can see, the infrastructure for it is already there. So if they find some gold and silver here, the path towards production, of course, is pretty low. And that is what I like about Discovery. They have a tremendous amount of silver in the ground, but they are also a producer right now. And the production that they have is increasing. And I really like that. So what have they found? Are there any big intercepts in here? There are a lot of intercepts here, right? There are a lot of drill holes that they came out with. They're all about the same dimensions, right? Roughly 5 grams per ton over 5 to 10 to 18 meters. Which, of course, is pretty good. If you can get it out of the ground, it's going to be profitable. Nothing too spectacular, unfortunately. No bonanza grades or like, you know, this one is pretty nice. 5 grams per ton over 30 meters. And where is that? That is kind of in the center of where they are already mining. All right, sure. But, you know, taking a step back, it's good to see that they are finding more gold in here. That means that their production can extend. That means that they are going to have more cash flow. And then on top of that, there's the Owl Creek project. It's also part of their acquisition, right? And do we have a picture of that? Of course we do. And let's see. What do we have here? Damn, this is a very big one. 270 grams per ton over 0.3 meters. So a very small, extremely high grade ore right there. It's in the middle of where they've already been mining. All right, a little bit less of an interesting image right here, unfortunately. Less information that I can gather. So for the people who, forgot, right, the Porcupine acquisition that they've done, is really concerned about a couple of big regions, right? It's about the Holy Pond, it's about the Pamur, it's about the Dome Zone, the Borden, and there are multiple other exploration opportunities. So the Holy Pond is a past producing mine, and that holds the TVZ zone, which is where they are currently exploring for new gold, right? We saw that right here. This is the TVZ zone. They found a whole bunch of gold here, right? That is part of the Holy Pond. That is part of their operations right now. Then they have the Parmour zone. I don't think there's anything in this news release about that. No, there is nothing about that. And then they have the Dome. That is the open pit part of this deposit, right? Which they are also exploring right here. It seems like there is more gold there as well. And then they have the Borden, and then they have the regional opportunities. They've got a mill, they've got a mine, they've got a mineral resource, and they are in operations right now. Besides that, they have this Cordero Silver project, which is in development right now. And they've got about 1 billion ounces of silver equivalent in the ground, which is, of course, a tremendously big deposit, right? As you can see here. 1 billion ounces of silver equivalent, which is not 1 billion ounces of silver, by the way. It's 490 million ounces of silver, but 1.2 billion ounces of silver equivalent. So that is a very big thing that you should know. So they've been drilling, they found some gold, which means that their operations might be able to last a little bit longer, and that, of course, is very good. And on top of that, they have announced the increase and extension of their revolving credit facility. A revolving credit facility is basically a credit card for a company, but then just extremely big. And they have a credit card, basically, right? The ability to take on $400 million in debt until July 30th of 2030. And so let me see what they are intending to use this for. I would imagine it would be to increase their production. The amended credit facility further builds our financial capabilities and flexibility with improved pricing. The additional financial strength we are gaining will benefit us significantly as we move forwards with our extensive growth plans, including more than doubling gold production at the Porcupine assets to over 500,000 ounces of gold per year. In addition, with the recent acquisition of the kit operations in Tinnins, we will be investing to grow and expand the kit metallurgical site and enable the processing of multiple metals, including gold, and to evaluate a potential longer-term future for the Kid Creek mine. We appreciate the support, blah, 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 blah. All right, so they are taking on the ability to gain that in order to increase their production numbers. And that is pretty good, in my opinion, because I believe that Discovery at the moment is profitable. Let me just see where our latest financial statements are. Oh my god. Sadar Plus has been changed. Let me just see where the database is. Hold up. Yes, here we go. This is the worst website ever made in human history, by the way, Sadar Plus. Absolute abomination of a website. It's still... mm, mm. Hey, Jacqueline, good morning from Miami. Oh yeah, good morning, man. Good morning from Belgium. Let me see, have they released a financial statement anytime soon? They may interim financial statements. Let me give you guys a quick lesson on using Sadar Plus, right? Because this will save you a tremendous amount of time. If you go to this website, Sadar Plus, then you go to search, documents, you can type in the name of the company that you want to look for documents for. If you find a document, press generate URL, and then you can copy that in your search bar, and then you can get the actual statement, right? Anyway, these are the financial statements last released by Discovery, so let's just really quickly go over that. They're until March 31st, right? And what I think is interesting in these financial statements, last time I looked at them, they have a tremendous amount of cash. And they are currently, right, operating at a pretty sizable profit. They operated at a $81 million net income. Let me see. Yeah. US dollars. And they are planning to grow their production. So what I like about Discovery Mining is the fact that they are currently producing, they are growing their production, and they have a very large undeveloped silver project that they are also developing at the moment. So a lot of good things that are happening for this company. Latest press releases that they've released don't make me question anything they are doing right now. Are we ripping higher, or was just a temporary bump? Well, I had a conversation today with Correlation Economics. The interview about that is coming out. For members, it's out right now, but for everybody else, it's coming out on Wednesday. But I do believe that we could see a bottom here at $4,000 gold, and that would mean that a lot of these stocks would be able to go up in the future as well. So yeah, I don't really think that this is a temporary bump, but you know, anything can change, and don't take my my advice on that for sure. Let's see. I forgot to start recording this too, so unfortunately, the first part of the stream has not been recorded, but let's just start doing that now, huh? All right, Integra Resources. Let's see if they came up with some news. So for everybody who just joined the stream, today we are just going to look at the companies that are on my watch list. They're on my watch list for certain reasons. They might be because I own them, it might be because I think they're interesting, or it might be because I'm just waiting for some news that comes out, right? And today we are going to look at these companies and we are going to look at the recent news that they've brought out, just to get a little up to date about the stories. I think that's very important to do every now and then. But the stories that we look at today, the stocks that we look at, I might own them, I might be biased, so please take that into consideration when you, when you look at this stream, of course. Do your own due diligence. So on July 30th, Integra Resources filed a updated life of mine plan. Let's just see what that's about. So Integra Resources, also a stock in the portfolio. So I am biased when I'm talking about this. But they are currently working on a multitude of assets that they want to get into production, and they are also producing on some other assets. So let's just see what they have, what they've come up with. So they've updated a Florida Canyon technical report. The updated technical report was informed by nearly 2 years of operation experience and a comprehensive review of the mine's historical performance and cost structure. Together, these efforts have resulted in a materially enhanced operation with more stable, predictable, and executable mine plan. The technical report highlights a 74% increase in proven and probable materials to 1.1 million ounces of gold, and an 8-year operating mine life, and a 17% increase in average annual gold production. Approximately 82,000 ounces of gold during active mining. Alright. I don't believe that the Florida Canyon mine is in production yet, so they are going to go into production soon. Or well, soon. No, they are in production. They are operating right now. Okay. That is pretty good. So their operating mine just got a boost to the mine life and to the mineral resources. And that is, of course, pretty good. The updated technical report also outlines an approximately 685,000 ounces of life of mine gold sold, approximately 0.8 billion after tax free cash flow. All-in sustaining costs are expected to be averaging approximately $2,300 per ounce, reflecting a larger, longer life operations with higher annual production. Right, so that will be pretty good if they could extend this mine life to 8 years, get a little bit more ounces in there. And, if they start mining 82,000 ounces of gold a year, right, at a all-in sustaining cost of 2,300 ounces, that would mean that they would have, well, gold is about this right now. That will mean that they have about a $2,000 per ounce margin on that. And that will mean that they have a operating income on those ounces of about $164 million a year from the Florida Canyon mine. Of course, it's not that easy. Of course, there's a lot of other costs with that. The all-in sustaining cost might change. But it gives you a rough sense of the numbers that we are dealing with right now. Besides that, they have the Delamar project and the Nevada North project. And what is the company trading at right now? At about 272 million bucks. What's that Canadian? So roughly about 500 million US. Might still be on the cheap side, this one. Let me see. Do they actually have the... Let's look at the actual feasibility study that they've put out. Integra. Let me see. Integra resources. Yeah, it should just be this one. Search. No, it's not this one. It should be... this one. Yeah, it's this one. So they've issued that technical report right there. If this website is popping up and down too much for stream, just know that there's nothing I can do about that. Unfortunately, Sadar Plus just works like that. But this is the new 43101 technical report about the Florida Canyon mine. And let's see. Let's see if we get an overview of what they've done with the ounces in this mine. So the mineral resource statement, right? So the Florida Canyon mine is a pretty interesting mine in general, because I believe that this mine is comprised of a stockpile inventory. So if we go to the actual Florida Canyon mine, this used to be a past producing mine, right? And this mine has a bunch of stockpile that has been there from previous operations. And I believe that they are running through that that stockpile to find more gold that has been left behind by the previous owner. But let me see if let me see if that is correct or if I'm confusing a couple things. See, and the fact that I'm confusing this for myself right now is a good reason to keep up to date with these reports, because otherwise, you know, you don't know what you're investing in, right? And things can change over time, so. Mining at Florida Canyon Mine is currently conducted using conventional truck and loader open pit mining methods. The operation utilizes a mixed fleet of 100 and 150 ton haul trucks supported by large front end loaders and hydraulic shovels. All right. The open pit operation is a peak mining rate of approximately 95,000 tons per day of ore and waste, with peak total mineralized movements of approximately. Okay. Leach. First ore is loaded into the haul trucks and. No, it doesn't look like they are mining just a stockpile. But there is definitely a big stockpile right here. The Florida Canyon Mine uses stockpiles as an important strategy to allow the mine site to maximize resource utilization. Conserve pad spaces for higher grade ore and extending mine life. The decision to stockpile is based primarily on leach pad capacity constraints, as current stockpile material is all above the economic cutoff grades. Higher grade ore is prioritized over lower grade when deciding which ore gets sent to the leach pad. The process begins with grade control sampling and ore classification. Blast hole samples assays. Subgrade ore, alright. During mining, haul trucks deliver the low-grade ore to a designated stockpile area. The payloads of the trucks deliver the ore to the stockpiles are tracked using the site's fleet management system. Okay. At the end of each month, Florida Canyon Mine uses the truck count from its average payloads. Okay. Current stockpiles inventory are about 1,000 kilotons, and they average a very low amount of gold, and they contain about 6.8 thousand ounces of gold. All right, so the Florida Canyon Mine is not a mine that is being run primarily by stockpiles. That is what I thought, so I was wrong on that. It's pretty good that we check right now. So let's look at this mineral reserve statement. So in mining, you have mineral resources and you have mineral reserves. Mineral reserves can be used to conduct a mine plan. You can take them to the bank, the bankable. They're a little bit more certain than mineral resources. So you have proven and probable reserves. Proven are the most certain reserves that you have. Probable are a little bit less certain. And all of the reserves are in the probable category here. We have the amount of tons that they have, right? And we have a gold grade in ounces per ton, which is a bit strange to use ounces per ton. So we got 31 grams of gold in an ounce. Which gives a cutoff grade of 0.3 gram per ton cutoff grade. If you calculate this from ounces per ton to gram per ton, you get a 0.28 gram per ton cutoff grade. Usually with heap leach, you use a pretty low cutoff grade like this. Give me just 1 second. So 0.3 is a doable cutoff grade by some standards. So that is pretty good. And they say that they have about 1.2 million ounces of gold. I do believe that that is quite a bit more. So what I wanted to see in this statement was when they have released their previous resource. Yes. All this bullshit. Do they say anything about that? No, they don't. All right. Interesting to see. So, Florida Canyon just got 74% bigger in the proven and probable mineral resources. They got 1.19 million ounces of gold in there. They got a 8-year mine life and a bigger production number, which might be explained by the fact that they are stockpiling lesser grade material and using the higher grade right away, as we just saw in their mineral resource estimate. It's pretty interesting. Okay, what other news have they brought out? Integra reports record mining and ore stacking rates at Florida Canyon, 30% increase in second quarter gold production. Integra is pleased to provide an interim operational update for the second quarter, and they've produced 16,000 ounces of gold, a 30% increase from the first quarter. The increase in gold production was supported by record total material moved, including a 47% increase in ore mined and a 45% increase in ore placed on the heap leach pads. So they are increasing the amount of material that they move quite a bit more than the ounces of gold that they're getting from that. So they are moving into a little bit lower grade area, is what you can subtract from these numbers, right? Because they are increasing the amount of ore that they place on the heap leach by 45%, and they are actually only getting a 30% increase in the amount of gold that they are receiving from that. So the material is a little bit lower grade, with significantly more ore being placed on the heap leach pad than in the second half of this year. The company expects gold production to increase in the third and fourth quarter and is maintaining full-year gold production guidance of 70,000 to 75,000 ounces of gold. So they are saying that in the first and second quarter, they have mined a total of about 27.5 thousand ounces of gold. Because in the first quarter, they had 30% less than this number, right? Which is about 11.2 thousand. This quarter, they have 16.3 thousand, and they are expecting to basically increase their production pretty dramatically towards the end of the year, right? So they are in a ramp up period right now. Right now, they've mined a total of 27.5 thousand ounces of gold, and they are expecting to be mining 70 to 75,000 ounces. So they are going to be mining 25,000 ounces, roughly, roughly 25 to 20,000 ounces of gold in the second and the third and the fourth quarter. So they are ramping up production right now. All right. And they seem to be reducing their strip ratio, which is also pretty good, which means that they are moving less ore that has no value. That's pretty good because you save a lot of energy not having to move material which is wasted, you know? The company mined 4.4 million tons of ore and 3.6 million tons of waste for a strip ratio of 80. As a result, averaging, okay, the Florida Canyon mine produced and sold during the second quarter, 30% increase. Gold production is expected to continue to increase through the second half of 2026, supported by the implementation of the N2 ore blending strategy. Higher mining rates and increased ore stacking rates on the heap leach pads. So what is the N2 ore blending strategy? I want to know. Let's see, what is this strategy that they are coming up with right now? The document is still loading. I should not have closed this out. Oh, by the way, Richard, if you're in chat, I'm planning on going to Brussels pretty soon, man. So we might be able to catch that beer. That would be a lot of fun, huh? Hey, bro, come on, load already. I don't have all day to be waiting on these documents to be loading. We're just waiting on this document to load real quick before we can continue. Looks like it doesn't really want to give me the document at the moment. There is a lot of value in patience, you know? Within and outside of investing. Let me see if I can get it on another tab. See, this is partly the reason why Sadar Plus is such a difficult website to use. It's just very inconveniently not loading, but I got it on another browser right here. All right. So what we are looking for is that N2 strategy that they've got. Right. So what is the N2 strategy? Right, Florida Canyon mine structural interpretations. Okay, so what are they talking about? The geometry of zones of gold mineralization and alteration from the Florida Canyon mine deposits are primarily controlled by the orientation of structural corridors or shear zones, which severed as focal points for fluids flow during mineralization. Ladies and gentlemen, I got no clue what this means. Welcome to Silver Lining Analysis, but we are going to form an opinion about this anyway, because I'm an idiot, and I like to spend my money in these kind of places. This pattern is well illustrated by both the C1 pit and the radio tower pit, which both blah 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 blah. Okay, so So in this report, they don't necessarily talk about the N2 ore blending strategy, but they are talking about the N2 pit that they have. In the C1 pit area, a section view oriented 330 degrees shows a strong alignment with high-grade composite dipping towards 35 degrees towards the southwest. In accordance with these measured plunge of average fold axis from the folding measurements of the Y2, C7, and N2 pits. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that might mean that the N2 pit that they have is higher grade than the other pits that they have. Let me see. The zone north of the radio tower fault represents the northernmost panel of mineralization domains at Florida Canyon Mine and the site of a large portion of historical production. As presently defined by current pit, I don't know how to say this word, honestly. It encompasses the C6 and the N2 pits, which, with mineralization contained with Made Pade, alright, all zones represently molded west dipping. Local exploitation, nodes, shear, and notable shears potentially result deeper drillings in these areas, suggesting the potential for additional lenses. All right. I'm just gonna plainly state that I got no clue what this means, right? The N2 ore blending strategy, right? N2 apparently is one of their shears that they have. It's a fault, it's a zone that they have, the N2 zone. And from their report, I could vaguely understand that they might be looking at a zone which contains a higher grade of gold, but I'm not sure about that. And what they might be doing in that ore blending strategy is that they take ores from this zone and blend it with other ores to create a higher gold production quarter over quarter, because they are expected to increase their production. So we'll see. We'll see what this does, and if this has higher grades, of course, they are going to be able to put out more gold. Let's quickly look at their last financial statement that they've had. This is from May 11th. So this is about the financial statements of March. And why do we look at the financial statements of March? Well, it's very simple. Because gold has been, well, pretty high during March. It has come down since. But any gold producer should be extremely profitable in the first quarter this year. If you're not profitable in the first quarter of this year, then, you know, it's pretty bad for you as a mining company. But they had a bunch of cash, all right. Cost of sales, production, mining operations. They had a net earnings of 12.5 million. All right. Okay, so they were profitable for 12.5 million. Should be roughly more profitable at this moment because they increased their production. But all right, path still looking good for Integra Resources. Besides the Florida Canyon mine, they also have 2 other projects that they are currently developing, right? So knowing that their one project that they're mining on right now is increasing production, is profitable, and will potentially get a little bit better grades, hopefully. That is looking pretty good. Abra Silver, also one of my holdings, something that I've been holding on to for like since the beginning of 2020. So I've been in this stock for quite a while. The resource has grown tremendously since I've owned it, but let's get a quick update about what the things are doing for Abra Silver. Again, if you're just joining this stream right now, we are looking at press releases from companies that are either in my personal portfolio or are on my watch list. So consider me biased when I'm talking about these, but I'm just going over the cases right now for myself because I've been out of it for a little bit and I just want to know what these companies have been up to. So let's look at the press releases from July, right? Yeah, I've seen the press release from June 24, right? They received the final environmental approval from the authorities for their project, which is of course extremely good. I really like this. Project. It's a big one. It's a good management team. They've been moving forward, but they've had a couple press releases. Right. Okay, let's start with the beginning. Abra Silver intersects 109 meters of 221 grams per ton silver and 0.72 grams per ton gold at Oculto West. Okay, so quick recap before we get into this about the Diablos project. Let me see, do they have like a cool... No, they don't have cool imagery, unfortunately. Yeah, okay. So they've got a whole bunch of land, right? Which started with the Oculto deposit, or sorry, the Diablos deposit, but it pretty quickly grew out to a bunch more deposits, including the Oculto zone. And now they're saying that Oculto West has a bunch more very deep intervals. That is why I just wanted to show you guys that. So. Let's see. Let's see what is going on right here. So we've got 5 different drill holes. Quick little introduction into reading drill holes for people who are pretty new to this. This is the name of the drill hole. It's all the way to the left always. Why is this called DDH26022? It's because there is no imagination in the world of geology and things have to be boring. That is a law, unfortunately. You could call these any name, but unfortunately they're just very boring sounding always. So in the area Jack Oculto, we have from 60 meters till 123 meters. That is an interval of 63 meters, right? That's the difference between these two. They have found 32 gram per ton silver. They have found no gold, and they have found no copper. And then you have all the drill holes stated like that, and all the results that came out of that. A very important drill hole in this one is 36 in the Oculto deposit. So for the religious people who are looking at numbers all day, unfortunately, This is the most important one. It has an interval of 109 meters for 221 grams per ton silver. So I would like to know, where has this drill hole been placed? Drill hole 36 is in the middle of the deposit. Unfortunately, that means that there is probably not an extension of the deposit, right? If this drill hole 36, was placed, for instance, outside of the deposit, that will be an extremely good sign. Why? Because then the deposit extends a little bit in size. But this one is placed in the middle of it, so that is, you know, that is what it is. Let's see, 36, it had a cross section too. So within this story, Abra Silver, first it was a silver deposit. That was this Occulto deposit. Then it kind of grew and it became better. Yes, Code, thank you for becoming a member to the channel, man. Really appreciate it. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the support. And now you can see all the videos a couple days earlier. Thank you so much. So the Occulto deposit, this is where they first started out, right? It was a pretty sizable deposit, honestly. Then they became interested with the other deposits that are associated with that. The Yak deposit, Sombrera, and all of these other deposits. But recently, in the last, let's say, year or so, they have been finding more and more copper as well in this deposit. They haven't focused too much on this copper component as well, but there have been some very interesting intervals in this deposit with copper going pretty deep, which could mean that there might be a copper component to this story as well. And if there is, everything just gets more interesting. But as of right now, that is not the case yet. But it's just interesting to see these things coming up time and time again with the story of Abra Silver, right? That copper component keeps showing up. But pretty interesting, pretty good drill holes again. Outside of the deposit 28, what do we see there? We see 2 meters of really, you know, negligible results. All right, 34, also kind of negligible. All right, and then 32 with some more intercepts. Okay, cool. So Abra Silver files a definitive feasibility study for its technical report and provides a heap leach PEA update, preliminary economic assessment. And they say with that the following: as previously announced on June 22nd, 2026, the feasibility study outlines a robust base case development plan for Diablos based on a conventional open pit mining operation of 9,000 tons per day processing facility. So quite a bit bigger than the last mine that we looked at. Abra Silver has a pretty big project. At a base case metal price of $50 silver and $3,650 gold, the feasibility study says that they have a $3 billion after-tax return, and for a return rate of 41.9% with a payback period of about 1.7 years. Okay. Let's look at this assessment, shall we? Let's see. Stock is trading at $16.70 Canadian right now, which is 2.69 billion Canadian, which is about $2 billion US. So based on just their assumptions that they've made, you know, you're going to get 3 billion for it eventually if you start mining this. Trading for about 2 billion right now, so there is still a little bit of undervaluation, but there is also a lot of risk with all of these mining operations. All right, their feasibility study. Um, Capital costs and operating costs, economic analysis, sensitivity analysis. It's going to be very interesting. Right. So let's first look at the amount of ounces that Abra Silver has in their resources right now. Measured, indicated, and inferred resources in total contained silver, contained gold, thousands of ounces. Measured and indicated, they still have about 250 million ounces of silver and about 2.5 million ounces of gold. So they have a gold-silver ratio of about 100. So they have 100 ounces of silver for every ounce of gold that they have. And most of their ounces are in the measured and indicated category, which is pretty good if you want to move this from a resource to a reserve. This hasn't changed all that much, right? Pretty good. So let's see, what do they need for CapEx for this project right now? The capital expenditure, or CapEx, estimated for Diablios comes down to what? Estimate includes a total installed cost of about $836.3 million US. Is that the entire capex? Direct total cost of $378 million US, representing about 45%. The total installed cost, the process planned. All right. Right. Okay. So their total installed cost is about $840 million, right? 70 million of which they have to spend before they make their final investment decision. Paperwork, engineering, those kind of things. Then 720 million of that they have to spend from their final investment decision to first production, right? So this is the costs that investors are going to have to come up with before they actually get a producing asset. And then $45 million in early sustaining capital. So 720 million bucks is what Abra Silver is going to need. Direct costs of that are about 378 million. The production plant is going to be costing 230 million. and then surface infrastructure of $123 million. These are pretty difficult things to get down in costs, of course. It's just going to cost a lot of money to get a processing plant up and running. And then they also have some indirect costs of $200 million, including engineering, procurement, construction management, temporary facilities, camps, commissioning, etc., etc., etc. The largest component is engineering, procurement, construction management, and services. All right, approximately sustainable capital. All right, all right, all right. Owner's costs contribute a further $144 million, driven primarily by pre-stripping development and other owner management expenditure, including 11.6 million of sustainable capital associated with waste stripping. And then here is a breakdown of all of these expenditures. Okay, so they're gonna need about $840 million. Operating cost estimates. The estimated operating cost for Diablos is $4 billion in their life of mine, equating to about $50 per ton processed. Okay. And they are only going to be reaching this number after 4 years of production, right? So on top of the capex that you have to spend to get it into production, you have to wait an additional couple years before you actually get to their lower production costs. So that means that the runway for Abra Silver is long, right? Before this actually gets into production, and before this actually becomes an extremely profitable operation, that is going to take time. But fortunately, this mine life is pretty long too. And you can see that here, right? It starts off pretty high and then it tapers down the lower you go, the longer this goes on. So the economic assessment, the economic analysis. The economic evaluation was completed using a discounted cash flow model based on the mineral resource estimate, reserve estimate, the mine production schedule, and some other things. All right, the base assumption was a long-term metals price, $3,650 an ounce for gold, and $50 an ounce for silver. But we all know that gold right now is $500 higher, potentially going higher even from here. And silver, who knows where silver might end at some point, but $50, sure. They have an approximately a mine life of 24 years. That's extremely, extremely long. And they are saying that they are going to recover just half of their mineral resources that we just looked at, roughly. So there are a lot of upsides still in this kind of, in this assessment. Recovery rates. And they say that the project will eventually bring in about $3 billion after tax as a net present value. Of course, this net present value can change with a couple things, right? If gold goes up, if the amount of ounces that they are be able to mine goes up, all of this can change. But as of right now, it is a very interesting project with a 42% return on it. So imagine investing, let's see, what do they need? $800 million, and then getting 42% on that for what is it? What is this mine life going to be? Where is that? Let's see. Life of mine 25 years, right? So imagine compounding your money 42% over that time. I don't know if it works like that, but you know, you get what I mean. Sensitivity analysis. This is also pretty good. So in this economic assessment that they've made for Abra Silver, right, they've used a base case price for silver and for gold. But of course, the prices are different, right? And in this table, they are going to show you what happens. Recent spot prices, the project has an economic value of $4.8 billion instead of 3. So imagine if gold prices go up from here, if silver prices go up from here, this project will only become better and better and better. Besides that, they have recently gotten the final environmental approval. So they are moving step by step, right? This is a very long process, which is going to take a lot of money and a lot of patience, but they are moving towards some sort of a decision regarding eventual investment. It's very good. I've been in this story for a couple of years now, and I really like this. Every step they take has brought me more confidence and more value as an investor. And I really like that. I really appreciate the management team for that. Talking about the management team, right? Abra Silver announces a leadership appointment as the company transitions to development at Diablos. So the company itself is changing their leadership. And I really like this. I really love to see this because this really says that the company itself, right, is firing and getting new management teams or new board members to, you know, start the development process of this mine. And let's see. Summary of the changes. The company announces the following leadership changes effective immediately. Mary Inkenster has been appointed as Chief Executive Chair of the Board of Directors. John Minitos, President and CEO, has been appointed as Director of the company. Jeremy Wayland has been appointed to Chief Operating Officer. Hernan Zabella and Sam Luang has stepped down for the Board of Directors. Right. And the company is actively expanding its project development team with additional appointments expected in the very near term at both Diablo's site and the corporate level. So expect more members to join. Right now, I'm looking up who this Mary Inkster is. Let me see if she already has a page on their website. Yes. Mary Inkster is an accomplished mining executive with corporate director with over 25 years of international experience in leadership, finance, governance, and capital markets. She previously served as the president and CEO of Lundin Mining Corporation. That is one of the best names to have in your company. I would imagine at this stage, right? Lundin Mining is one of the top tier mining companies, and she serves as the president and CEO of that company. Whoa. After nearly a decade as CFO. So she has extensive financial experience. She has experience at Lundin Mining. Damn. She currently serves as a board member of Cameco Corporation. So everybody who's into uranium should know this woman as well. She is a board member there at Cameco. And also held board positions at Vale, which is a multi-asset mining company, extremely big as well, multi-billion-dollar. Additionally, Mrs. Inkster has served as the chair for the International Zinc Association. Whoa. All right. Extremely big addition to the management team here. Mary Inkster. Damn, that is I'm very glad, you know, when Abra Silver moved up pretty big in 2025. I was thinking about selling some here, and then it dropped, and then it's like, oh yeah, I should have sold some, maybe to buy some other things that were cheap too. But honestly, seeing where this company is going, right? Every single press release that comes from Abra Silver, and that has come since I've held it in 2020, every single press release is positive. I mean, this company keeps surprising me with good news. Whether it's about their deposit that's growing, whether it's about their management team that's expanding, it just keeps getting better for Abra Silver. And I really like that. I'm a shareholder, so of course I'm biased. Please do your own research with this. But I like the stock, and the recent news has only made me like it more. That being said, the stock is up, I don't know how much percent since I've bought it. I haven't bought anything recently, so if you're thinking about getting into it now, of course it's a bigger question than when I got into it like 6 years ago. But I'm gonna let you make that decision for yourself. Please understand the risks when you get into stories like this, because things might change, of course. But the last press release that Abra Silver has announced was that they closed a 50 million Canadian bought deal public offering. And what I want to know is whether this was with or without a warrant. Whoa. In addition, and in connection with the offering, the company intends to complete a private placement of up to 140,000 common shares by Kinross Gold. So Kinross Gold is investing in Abra Silver. All right, that's good to see. The holding period 4 months plus 1 day, closing current, right? The common shares were offered in all provinces. All right. So yes, 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 yes. All right, no warrant. That's pretty good. So not a tremendous amount of dilution. Kinross Gold is now investing in Abra Silver. They are moving towards mentally preparing themselves for development at some point, and they have recently got their final environmental approval. Things are looking good for Abra Silver. All right. Then another stock on the watch list, Amex. Amex. Amex Gold Mining. Let's look at what's going on at Amex. Amex is a company with an extremely high-grade gold deposit. If I remember correctly, the Paran project, it's like 5 grams per ton gold that they got there over like 1.5 million or 2 million ounces, which of course is extremely impressive. Let me see if I'm correct with that. mineral resource estimate containing 1.6 million ounces of about 6.1 gram per ton gold, right? So they got a very high grade, although in the grand scheme of things, right? And don't shoot me for saying this, in the grand scheme of things, a deposit a little bit on the smaller side. Don't shoot the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. But it is very high grade. So once they start mining this, of course, very profitable. The Champagne zone is where most of their resource is. It's also very high grade. As you can see here, it's 16 grams per ton. And, you know, almost 9.8 grams per ton. You know, we're talking about very high grade ounces here. So what have they done recently? Let's see. They diluted me for about 80 million, right? Amex Exploration announces its name change to Amex Gold Mining. All right. So they are conceptually trying to explain to people that they are moving from an exploration company to a gold mining company. Let's see how that is going, huh? Mining advances bulk sample construction. All right. Okay, let's see what has gone on with Amex Exploration. Ladies and gentlemen, I request a 2-minute break from this live stream. I will be right back with you guys. Please give me 2 minutes to handle some business here in my house. Be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. We're back with the regular scheduled programming. Looking at Amex Gold Mining. Used to be Amex Exploration. All right. All right. So, what have they done? Ladies and gentlemen, my webcam is not working right now. Again, the request, if anybody knows anything about webcams and stuff, please let me know. Because this is really annoying. All right, we're back. We're completely back right now. 100% fully focused again. All right. Amex Exploration completes its final tranche of its $80 million Canadian private placement. So Amex is pleased to announce the completion of its best effort private placement, selling some shares, right? Let's see if they've sold some warrants with this. It doesn't look like it, which is pretty good. All right, so no warrants, and they've raised a whole bunch of money. Now, why I like the fact that these days the companies are not selling warrants is that means that there is investor demand for these products. And let me just explain to you guys what I mean with that. And let me get my chalk away from here. So I've been in this market since 2020, 2019, something like that. And during this period of time, so during 2021 all the way until like 2025, these companies had to entice people to invest in them. That meant that they had to sell shares below market price. So that could mean that a company was trading at $2 and then they had to sell shares at 180 to get a bid for their shares to raise money. What they also had to do was sell a share in combination with a warrant. And a warrant is essentially a long-dated stock option that lasts for about 4 to 5 years. 3, 2, whatever, a couple of years. So these companies really had to entice people to start investing in them. But what we see now is that companies like this, companies like Amex, companies like Discovery Silver, companies like Abra Silver, they don't have to entice people to invest anymore. People just invest 80 million bucks, oversubscribed, no warrant. So there is appetite these days for this kind of investment. This is not the appetite from retail investors, right? 80 million bucks, you're not going to be raising that from retail. You're raising that from bigger, sophisticated investors. And seeing these numbers go up from, let's go back to 2023, right? Let's see what kind of investing rounds they did back then. If I can find any. Right. A private placement, right? Amex Exploration was raising 6.5 million, right? With half a warrant, right? At 140 a common share. So they had to entice people by giving them warrants. They were raising 6.5 million. Now, a couple of years later, right? Only 2 years later, and they are raising 80 million bucks without a warrant. So that means that the appetite of these investors are just tremendously increasing. And that is such a good sign to see in the entire industry, because all of these companies and all of these projects were very cash starved during this entire period. And that means that you can play a lot of games, right? That means that you can, as a bigger investor, right, you could sell shares in the open market, push the price down, and then get assigned to a private placement, right? So you sell shares, the price drops, you get into the placement with the warrant, and then you sell the shares again, dropping the price again, and routining that cycle, doing it over and over again. Puts a lot of pressure on these stocks. But now there's appetite. Instead of 6.5 million, they're raising 80 million. Instead of a warrant, they don't have to give out a warrant. These are good signs. This is not specific to Amex, but this is just in general in the market what I see. Back to Amex. Amex Gold Mining advances bulk sample construction. So Amex is pleased to provide an update on the ongoing construction and development activities related to its 40,000-ton underground bulk sample project at its wholly owned Peron Gold project. All right. Construction activities across the site are progressing steadily. So they are constructing their mine right now and they are bulk sampling it. Multiple infrastructure pads have now been completed or are nearing completion, providing a foundation of key operational facilities required to support the bulk sample program. All right, so what are they doing? Following a competitive tender process involving 3 qualified mining contractors, Amex has completed its technical, commercial, and operational evaluation. The company is currently engaged in contract negotiations with its preferred contractor and expects to provide further details once negotiations have finalized. All right. And that is about this press release that we are going to go into a little bit further. In parallel, work associated with the project's permanent electrical infrastructure continues to advance. Connecting the Hydro-Quebec's hydroelectric grid infrastructure in anticipated later 2026, early 2027, and is expected to significantly reduce the project's environmental footprint while supporting future development activities. Hydroelectric power is pretty cheap. So if they can connect to this hydroelectricity, their costs might go down a little bit as well in the future. That is pretty good. Okay, so they have chosen their company for the underground development for the bulk sample program. Let's see if they say anything about a timeline. The appointment represents another important milestone in advancing of the Peron Gold project as the company transitions from project preparation into underground development. Mobilization of the underground mining team is expected to commence in late July 2026, so they should be done, or they should be ongoing right now. So they are doing this $40,000 ton bulk sample. Capital and operation costs. So Amex moving towards a, what did they call it? A bulk sample program. Means that eventually, once this program has been completed, they are going to be looking at a potential investment decision. So how much money do they need pre-production, right? Life of mine project capital costs are total of 432 million gross pre-production revenue. All right. So they are going to be needing about 430 million as well. And they could also generate $3.7 billion in pre-tax free cash flow, which is an after-tax of about $2 billion, right? At the same net present value calculation, that could be about $1 billion to $1.7 billion in after-tax returns for a return rate of 114 to 152 percent. So they are going to be needing to raise a couple hundred million. Their market cap is about 680 million right now. They say that they could be making about $1 billion to $1.7 billion. All right. Hopefully they will be able to raise this amount of capital, but we'll see in the future. Very interested to see how this bulk sampling program will advance. Hopefully they will make some money off of this, you know? But we'll see. Very exciting things for Amex as well. Let's see, first mining. So what I want to check out a little bit is see if they got some form of a timeline for us. Because they're doing the preparations right now, right? The sampling. What are they trying to tell us regarding the rest of the program? Right. So, a phased approach. They are going to do this bulk sampling from 2026 till 2027. This is where they are now, which is correct because it's 2026 and they are moving towards the bulk sample. They got a company that does that for them. Then in 2028, so that's about 2 years from now, right? Underground mining and toll milling of the high-grade Champagne zone. So they are potentially going to start mining in 2028. Right. And they are going to be starting to mine the high-grade zone before they are going to construct a on-site mill. So let's go back to the costs that they have. I don't think I'm going to be able to find this that easily. Oh yeah, initial capital cost. This category includes all costs to develop the property and does not include a processing plant since the project is starting with a toll mining operation for the first 5 years of the project. Initial capital expenditure are about 200 million bucks. This is Canadian, I believe. Over a 24-month period of construction, pre-production, and commissioning. Right, so this phase 1, the underground mining and toll milling operation of the high-grade Champagne zone, that can be done for as little as 200 million bucks. And 200 million bucks is pretty easy to raise, or well, pretty easy in general, census, on a $680 million market cap. And then after that, of course, they will have some cash flow to help with the construction phase of phase 2. But this is really, the phase 1 is really very interesting to me. And that is kind of what I'm waiting on for them to get fully permitted and to get into production. So until further news, that is kind of where we are with Amex exploration. They are on track right now for the plans that they laid out in the past. That is pretty good. Another moving on to another stock. All right, sorry, I got distracted for a little bit. First Mining Gold recently moved up a whole bunch as well, currently trading for about 725 million bucks. Let's see what they got in store regarding news. This is a company, it's on the list. for a couple things. They have a very big endowment of gold resources in different deposits worldwide. And I believe that Keith Neumeyer, the president, CEO of... What is he president and CEO of again? Of the company AG. I don't know. Oh yeah, First Majestic Silver. He is a big investor in First Mining Gold as well. So Keith Neumeyer is very involved in this stock. Let me just see if this loads so I can show you guys. So Keith Neumeyer is on the board of directors here. And so this is potentially, in my mind, in some way, this might be potential buyout play. But I don't know. I'm not sure. They just have a lot of ounces of gold, and that's kind of why it's in my portfolio. But very loose holding for me. Please, no financial advice. Do your own due diligence. This carries a tremendous amount of risk. Let's see. What have they been up to? Cat Lake First Nation and First Mining Gold reach a milestone agreement to mobilize Cat Lake All-Season Access Road. Alright, so they're building a road. Impact assessment. Federal approval. Alright, First Mining and Slate Falls Nation agree to key terms of project agreements for Springpole Gold Project. Alright, so... Let me just make this a little bigger for you guys. So this press release states First Mining receives federal approval for the Springpole Gold Project environmental assessment. So they received approval to do their assessment, which means that the project still takes a couple of years, because an environmental assessment just takes a couple of years before it gets going, before it's completed. The company is pleased to announce that the Springpole Gold Project has received its federal environmental assessment approval. The people involved say that the company's Springpole project may proceed. The Springpole project is one of Canada's largest undeveloped gold resources and located... Okay, alright. This is a monumental day for First Mining, the local indigenous community and municipalities who are positioned to benefit economically and socially from the project. First Mining shareholders and all... Alright, bro, just say something. The Springpole project's approval by the federal government validates the project will be the biggest economic driver. Whatever, bro. Tell me something real. This decision statement follows a thorough federal environmental assessment process carried out since 2018. Okay, so stop the record, go back a couple minutes. They have received their environmental assessment. All right. So that means that they can proceed with a potential investment decision. So that is pretty interesting. Springpole Gold Project. Let's look at that. Good morning from Bangalore. Where is that located? That seems very tropical. Bangalore. Hell yeah. India. Welcome, man. I got Indian fans. Hell yeah. All the way across the world, huh? On Silver Lining Analysis. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Welcome to the show. Let's see. So this project, the Springpole project, just got the environmental approval. And what do they have here? That is going to take a second to load. So this is a project with 4.8 million ounces of gold and 28 million ounces of silver. So it's a big gold project. It's pretty good. How much money do they need to start this project off? Let's see. Mm, mm. Total initial capex. Let me see. Let me see. Total capex of about $1 billion, right? So they are gonna need a bunch of money before they start. Before they start this project off, they're going to need more money than their market cap is now. And in general, I know a lot of people have left this stream right now. I can see that in the viewers, but I want to talk about this for a little bit. And I don't know what to make of this, right? Because I am relatively new to the world of mining investing. That means that I have only seen the cycle since 2020. And from 2020 until now, the main focus of a lot of these companies was to just keep the lights on. If we look at the news releases also from like First Mining, you know, you can see that these companies were raising like 10 million in equity financing, and then they would issue warrants with that for 20 cents a warrant and for like 20 cents a share and things like that. The main focus of a lot of these companies in this period was just to keep the lights on and just to keep in business. But now we are moving to a space in this industry where a lot of these projects are extremely profitable if they get into production. And more of these projects are receiving federal approval. So more and more of these projects are going to be moving into some sort of a investment decision. And that means that a lot of companies are eventually in the position where they are going to be needing to raise a tremendous amount of money. And that money has to be raised from somewhere, right? We, you know, you and me, we don't have $1 billion sitting in our bank account ready for First Mining Gold to start investing, right? We don't have $500 million to build a mining plant somewhere. So this is really where my knowledge as an investor ends, because I don't know how to proceed from this. Because I see a lot of companies, right? We just looked at Discovery Silver, we looked at Abra Silver, we looked at Amex, we're now looking at First Mining. They all have projects they want to get into production. And I do get that, right? Gold price is high. Your project's probably extremely profitable if it gets into production. But before it gets into production, you need $1 billion. And so we are moving from a industry that was starved for cash just a couple of years ago to an industry that is needing to raise billions of dollars. And my biggest question right now for a lot of these companies is, where are they going to get the cash from to start investing these sums of money? Is that from regular investors? Is that from selling shares to the public? Is that from taking on debt? Is that from selling royalties? Like, what is going to happen for these companies to start raising all these billions, right? And looking at this industry for the last couple of years, it seems like, right, at least in 2022, 2023, 2024, there wasn't the amount of capital in this industry to even support these kind of capital expenditures, right? But we just looked at the press release of Amex Gold Mining. They stated that they just raised 80 million bucks without a difficulty, without a warrant. So that means that capital is moving back into this market. But at what point do we have enough capital for people to start investing billions of dollars in these projects? And that is kind of where my knowledge really ends in this industry. I would love to see it. I would love to see what kind of shift that brings, right? Because we're moving from an industry that's starved for cash for 5 years long to an industry that needs to be flooded with cash in order for it to move forward. But once it comes, there are potentially pretty big rewards at the end of it. So that's a pretty interesting shift. And one that I would like to witness. But anyway, that's a little bit of a side tangent there. But First Gold Mining also received its environmental approval, also received some key approvals to start moving forwards with their project. Just the question remains, how are all of these companies at the same time going to raise this money, right? Because First Mining is going to raise money. Amex is going to raise money. Abra Silver is going to raise money. Discovery Silver is going to raise money. They're all needing billions of dollars. Where are these billions coming from? Is that from retail? Is that from funds? Is that from ETF flows? I don't know. I really don't. But, you know, until we have these answers, right, all we can do is just keep investing and keep looking at these stories. Let's look at Next Gold Mining. One of the better websites in this industry. And I know that a lot of people don't really care about that. But personally, I do. Because it says a lot about where you are positioning yourself in the age of digital marketing, right? This speaks to a different type of investor than the gold mining, than First Gold's website, for instance. Right? This is pretty slick in general, right? But let's look at the news. What came out of Next Gold? Next Gold, also a project, right? The Goldboro project, high grade, good ounces. 2 grams per ton for 1 million ounces. Pretty small. Let me see. Let me see. Why is this on my list? They say that they have 2.5 million ounces at 3.7 gram per ton gold, which is a good gold grade. It's a pretty good amount of ounces, right? Let me see. Why is this on the list? Oh yeah, this is why it's on the list, because the capex to get this into production is pretty low. Right, the initial capex is just 270 million, so for a relatively small capex, you could get this project into production, which is pretty good, right? Compared to having to raise $1 billion, compared to having to raise 270 million, it's quite a big difference, right? But what have they been up to recently? They've intersected 61.22 grams per ton gold over 12 meters. All right. $10 million private placement, equity grants, some more drill results, key development activities. All right. So let me see, where are these drill holes located? Let me see. So where is that big drill hole? "12 meters of 61 gram per ton. Drill hole 37. 37, where is that? No, they don't show it. Section G, the fourth hole from up. Section ABCD G. So right somewhere there. It's where that big drill hole was. Right in the middle of the deposit. All right, interesting. Hmm. But it seems to be an anomaly within the bigger set of data, right? Okay. What else? They are drilling right now. What else? They raised 10 million bucks at 165 a share. It's about this area. Okay. Sure. Did they have to sell some warrants with that? This financing was placed with 2 of our long-term, long-only institutional shareholders. All right. And we'll focus on mineral resource expansion potential on our significant properties package. Okay. So, Next Gold, honestly, when I look at it, I don't really see why this is on my list at the moment. So, might be something that I take off, or might be something that I will just have to look more into. Because in general, at this moment, I do like 2 types of companies. I like small gold miners with a path to increase production, and I like developers. And Next Gold continues to advance its key development activities. So let's see what that is about. They are pleased to provide a monthly update on the key developments, right? Ensuring Goldboro is prudently de-risked and positions for long-term success. Okay, sure. We continue to advance a number of important project initiatives, including work related to an updated mineral resource estimate, feasibility study, mine planning, procurement, engineering. But that is just intended to support all of that. Okay, so what are they doing? An updated feasibility study. All right. Engineering and technical activities. The company and its engineering consultants commenced and advanced a number of detailed engineering and technical work streams. All right. Early earthwork. Advancing detailed engineering of the process plant. Okay. Permit conditions. The next gold team advances work to meet pre-construction permit conditions. In addition, the company is commenced construction on 2 key fish habitats. So they're going to be catching some fish. Completing the construction of these projects prior to the commencement of construction activities at the project is expected to be a significant step in meeting the compensation requirements for the project. All right, so they are still within the permitting stage. I don't know. I'll have to do some more research into Next Gold. Let's look at trailless mining. I am going to do like 1 or 2 more, guys, and then I'm going to shut it off for today. And then I'll be back within a little bit, couple days, to do the rest. Trailless mining. Trailless is pretty interesting. It's pretty big, it's a pretty big pre-producing mine. It's got 11 million ounces of gold equivalent, right? At a pretty, respectively low grade of 0.69. Ayo, that's the funny number, grams per ton. And they are currently working towards a sort of a development plan. And let's see where they are at now. 11 million ounces of gold equivalent. It's pretty good. That's size, that's big, I like that. Right, so Trailless, selected by the government of Quebec to receive its specialized support towards the strategic mining project. All right. They are drilling 1 gram per ton over 103 meters. Drilling. And some detailed engineering. Okay. Seems that they are very concerned with drilling still at this moment. Okay, so what are they doing? Let me start off with this press release. Trailless. Let me actually... just put this into screen a little bit better for you guys, huh? Trailless welcomes Quebec's government's leaders to its site for an official announcement for a 70 megawatt hydraulic power allocation. Right, so that means that the government is coming by and they are allocated power to this project. It's pretty good. Trailless is pleased to announce that it has recently welcomed representatives from the government of Quebec to its copper gold project in north central Quebec for an official announcement for the allocation of 70 megawatts of hydraulic power to the project. The announcement held at Trailless Project site on June 8th was made by Bernard Drainville, Ministry of Economy. All right. And Catry Champagne. Bro, how do you get a name like this, honestly? Like, who do you have to bribe in your life? You know, who do you have to, like, mingle with in your life to get a name like Champagne? That's crazy. I would like to have a name like that, please. Like, somebody let me know. But they're from the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forests. The event also brought together representatives, blah, 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 blah. During the announcement, Mr. Champagne highlighted the role of the project such as Trailus in supporting Quebec's critical minerals strategy, regional economic developments priorities, and long-term energy transition objectives. All right. So they are in very good standing with the government, right? They have allocated a bunch of power, right? Hydraulic power, which is cheap power to this project. And this gives them access to reliable, low-carbon hydraulic power. And that is fundamental to the responsible development of a large-scale mining project in northern Quebec. And it marks a significant step forwards as we continue advancing permitting, engineering, financing, and overall project readiness activities. As one of Quebec's largest copper-gold development projects, Troilus has the potential to become an important long-term contributor to the province's economics and critical minerals strategy. All right, so they are still working on their advanced permitting and their engineering. I do believe that Troilus is pretty far in that process. And here you see all of these guys trying to see who Mrs. or Mr. Champagne is. Maybe that one. From the left, Caroline, Troilus Vice President. Then Daniel something, Troilus Vice President. And then Catherine Champagne. So I did knew this was Champagne. Cool name. Cool name. Advancement of project financing and technical due diligence activities. The official announcement follows a period of significant activities at the Troilus project as the company continues advancing multiple development workstreams in parallel. In recent weeks, Troilus hosted representatives from international finance institutions and expert credit agencies from Canada, Germany, Finland, Denmark, Sweden, France, and the United States at the project site, as part of an ongoing technical, environmental, operational, and project financing due diligence activities, which are associated with the company's previously announced $1.2 billion debt financing mandate. So they got $1.2 billion bucks ready to be financed. Let's just go over to that news release real quick. Troilus upsized debt financing mandate for up to $1.2 billion. Troilus, by the way, company that is trading right now for about $1 billion market cap, has a debt mandate of $1.2 billion, which means that if this doesn't work out, the company's bust, because they got more debt than their market cap. So that is why there is tremendous risk in this market. Please take that into consideration when doing any of your research. Do your own due diligence with this, please. But Troilus is pleased to announce that it has further increased its previously announced debt mandate from $1 billion to $1.2 billion, reflecting continued strong lender support. The increased mandate underscores the strong alignment between Troilus and its lending partners. The increase of up to $1.2 billion marks a major milestone as we advance the debt financing along with the components of the project's financing packages to position Troilus towards a fully funded construction decision. And this separates Troilus from the other stocks that we looked at today because they are going towards a construction decision, but they are already cashed up with that $1.2 billion of debt. This expanded mandate reflects a significant progress made by the companies through basic and into detailed engineering. All right, so they are cashed up at the moment. So what other news releases have they released? Troilus selected by the government of Quebec to receive specialized support through the new Filion initiative for strategic mining projects. So not only do they get $1.2 billion in debt, not only do they get 70 megawatts in hydroelectric power from the government, they are also pleased to announce that Troilus project has been selected by the Quebec's Ministry of Natural Resources and Forests, the Honorable Mrs. Champagne, as one of the first projects to benefit from Philon, a specialized support service established by the government of Quebec to enhance government coordination and support the advancement of strategic mining projects. So they are advancing this project with special support through the permitting process. Announced as part of strategic... The Troilus project is among the first projects to receive the specialized support, reflecting its strategic importance. All right. So it looks like they have pretty good connections within the government, right? And they are using them to get some special help. Besides that, they are cashed up with a $1.2 billion debt facility, moving towards a financing decision. And on top of that, they have been drilling some holes in their project, which seems like great drilling, not really expanding the property all that much. And what I'm looking at here real quick, right? I'm not in a mood today to be looking at all of these drill holes, but when you see drill holes like this, where they have a pit design already laid out, you see this drill hole, it goes in, right? And all of these red lines, that is grade that they found, that's intercepts. And you kind of see this drill hole going in, there's a lot of intercepts right there, and then when the pit design ends, the results end too. So that tells me that it is not an expansion. There's no expansion on the horizon for this deposit. That's fine. That's fine. They got enough ounces as is. So Troilus, moving towards some production, or well, towards an investment decision. And sometimes I bring up this this chart on stream, right? And there is going to be a day, I swear, where I am going to write that name correctly first try. The Lassonde curve, which is this curve right here. And the image is horrible, but I'm just going to yap over it so you guys can understand it a little bit. But the Lassonde curve is a curve that kind of states that mining goes in cycles, of course. And we all know that this sector itself is cyclical because money flows in and out of this sector based on sentiment, right? People get excited about gold, and then afterwards they get really depressed about gold. And based on those, based on their excitement about gold and gold mining, they will invest or divest from this sector. But that is not the only cyclical thing in this sector. The projects itself and the companies that are in this sector are cyclical too, right? And the Lassonde curve kind of explains that cyclicality. And the cycle goes as follows. The first part of this curve is the exploration cycle. That is companies like Newfound Gold. That is companies like, name a whole bunch of exploration companies in a list. Defiance. That are companies like Home Run. That are companies like SK Mining. That are companies like West Red Lake. Companies that are trying to find some gold and some silver. They are usually priced pretty low because they don't have a resource yet. And all of the companies that I just named doesn't mean that they don't have a resource yet, just for dramatic purposes. But those are companies without a resource. Very low priced, very high risk, right? Then they start drilling and they might find a resource. And once they do, they shoot up in price. And a very good example of that, Snowline Gold, where the company, had some resource, but then eventually found a much bigger, much better resource. And, you can see that the stock shot up from there, right? After that, after you find a resource, right, a very boring process will start. And that is the process of figuring out whether or not this project is actually ready to be mined, the feasibility process. That is where you do the economic assessments, the permitting, and all those kind of things. And you can see that in the cycle you go up and then you go down. For a very long time, this is years, by the way, this entire cycle is years. So you find a resource, people are excited about it. Then you go and test the resource. Then you start drilling more. You're going to do environmental studies. You're going to do water studies. You're going to talk to the people who live on that land. Can we mine this? Is it possible? What about electricity? What about energy? How are we going to do this? A very boring process. People lose excitement. And then the stock itself drops as well in its price. Because those are not a lot of sexy news releases, right? Just as Troilus, these news releases are not sexy, right? They don't excite people as much as big drill holes do. But they are very important. And eventually you're going to come to a point where the feasibility stage is done and people and their projects are going to move into an investment decision, a full investment decision, or a final investment decision. That kicks off the next leg in this cycle, right? The construction of the mine. And this is where I really want to play. This is really where I see the most value at the moment. And all of the stocks that we talked about today are in some form in this cycle, in this part of the sector. Those are projects that have a discovery where the hype of the discovery is a little bit gone already and are currently moving towards feasibility, towards an investment decision. Because if they make that decision and if they start construction, then the actual money is being made, right? Because eventually after that construction, you get to the highest point in the cycle, and that is the first day of mining operations. That's when a mine is most valuable. So all that I'm looking at, all the mines and all the projects that I'm currently looking at are in this part of the Lassonde curve. At this point in time, right, exploration is extremely, all of these exploration stocks are extremely cheap, but it's really a gamble if you're looking at this part of the curve, right? Because they don't have a project, they don't have, they don't have resources that you can value, and they don't have like a track record of their permitting and the decisions that they've made. I'm looking mostly in this area. And I'm seeing more and more companies moving from this part, right, the feasibility part, the asking the government for permission part, into potentially making a decision. So it could become pretty interesting for the next couple of years once a lot of these stocks that I'm looking at move from this part of the cycle towards a higher part of the cycle, together with an increase in the price of gold, potentially. Who knows, That gives for pretty explosive moves, I can imagine. But yeah, guys, we've looked at some stocks today, some news. We've went over, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've went over about 6 stocks right now that I've also, that are on my list. Please understand that the things I talk about are just my opinions, right? I'm not an expert in this market. I'm just an investor, just like you and me. I've done all the research by myself. There is tremendous risk in investing in this market, so please understand that. This is not advice, so please don't buy or sell anything based on what you hear me say ever, right? And yeah, do your own due diligence. I'm going to start to eat my dinner soon, so I'm going to close it off for today, I think. Yeah, thank you guys for being here again. Next stream, we are going to go over some more stocks, right? Because I kind of want to get up to date with everything, but it's just... for now, I think this is a good time to let it go. Again, for the people who are still in the live stream, thank you so much for watching and your continuous support on this channel. I really, really appreciate it. Jessica, thank you for becoming a member. Uvan from India, thank you for joining today. A Costi, thank you for joining. Jack Queen, thank you for joining all the way from Miami. Guys, I really appreciate you being here. I'm gonna close it off now. I think I've yapped enough for today. I'll see you guys in roughly a week from now with some more news releases from other companies that are on my list. Until then, I wish you guys a very happy rest of your weekend. A very good week next week, and we will see each other next weekend. How about that, huh? Interview with Correlation Economics will be online for everybody to see on Wednesday. And for the channel members, they can see it right now. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not financial advice. Do your own due diligence, etc., etc., right? I'm an idiot when it comes to gold and gold mining. It's not investment advice. People, thank you so much for joining. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.